College Football 27 was supposed to be a pretty simple first video for me. I spent the beginning of my trial in practice trying to get used to the new catching system, figuring out the tackling, and switching between a few passing settings to see what actually felt right. After that, I started a Mississippi State Dynasty because I already knew the roster and wanted somewhere familiar to learn the mode. But I quickly moved over to Texas so I could get a better shot with recruiting, grab more team intro footage, and see how the game held up against better competition. That was supposed to be the whole video. I wanted to talk about what College Football 27 genuinely improved on, what still felt off, and whether all these Dynasty additions are as good once you actually start playing instead of just reading about them. But everything changed when the paid progression situation took over the entire conversation. People discovered that Road to Glory had paid skill points, and that Online Dynasty had paid coach points. The play don't pay push started spreading, creators got involved, and suddenly the thing everybody was talking about had almost nothing to do with the actual football game. EA has now announced that these paid progression options are being removed. And that was the right call. I'm glad they made it this quickly. But the reason people got so angry still matters because it wasn't only about seeing a purchase option in a menu. Dynasty still had its position specific player XP sliders, but the fast and fastest settings for leveling your coach were gone. Road to Glory lost its player XP sliders completely as well. Then EA added player progression to both modes. Even without knowing what anyone inside EA intended, that combination looked terrible. You remove some of the control people already had, then put a paid shortcut beside the new system. Players are naturally going to connect those decisions. That was my first reaction too. I wasn't looking at the paid levels thinking somebody was forcing me to buy them. I was looking for the progression options that used to be there, realizing some of them were missing, and then seeing that EA had found a way to sell faster progress. That is a completely different problem from whether the purchase is technically optional. Once EA can make money from how quickly we progress, every decision that slows the normal path becomes harder to take at face value. Maybe a slower coaching career really is better for Dynasty. I can understand that argument. If upgrades come too quickly, you can max out a coach before the save has had time to become interesting. But that still should be our choice. The way I was using Dynasty during the trial is a good example. I wasn't starting a 30-year career Dynasty yet. I was just testing recruiting, recording entrances, trying out teams, and seeing how different systems worked. For that kind of save, faster progression can be useful. Somebody else may want every coach upgrade to take years. That works too. One person choosing a faster setting does nothing to damage the slower experience for someone else. Road to Glory is even more sensitive because the career is shorter. Developing your player is a major part of the mode, and you only have a few college seasons to do it. Taking away the XP controls while selling skill points was always going to make people wonder whether the normal progression had been built around the experience or around making the shortcut look valuable. That is why the just don't buy it never really answered anything. Ultimate Team is already the heavily monetized side of these games. People know what they are getting into when they open that mode. A lot of players go to Dynasty and Road to Glory because they want something else. They want to build a program, create a player, make decisions, and watch a career develop without constantly wondering what part of the experience might become the next thing for sale. EA's first response fixed part of the progression issue. They announced 3 coach XP speeds for Dynasty, with the fastest matching the old faster option from College Football 26. That gives players more control than they had at launch, although the old fastest setting still has not been restored. They also explained that Road to Glory players could still reach a very high overall through gameplay alone. When I first read that response, I thought it might be enough to calm everything down. The faster Dynasty option was coming back. EA had explained how Road to Glory progression worked. I figured they were going to leave it there and wait for the conversation to fade. Then I read it again. They still hadn't explained why paid progression belonged in either mode. That was the part people cared about. Something can be optional and still be a bad addition. Those two things are not in conflict. Bordeaux became the most visible creator pushing the issue, and he deserves credit for being willing to risk his relationship with EA over it. Other creators were testing progression, players were sharing what they found, and the message stayed clear. Paid progression did not belong in Dynasty or Road to Glory. That was hard to ignore because creators and regular players were saying the same thing during the exact week EA wanted everybody to be focused on the launch. Instead of gameplay, recruiting, or Dynasty blueprint, the entire game was starting to be defined by one monetization decision. Then, EA put out a second statement. They said they had missed the mark and announced that paid progression options would be removed from Road to Glory and Online Dynasty. Honestly, good. They could have lowered the prices, weakened the boosts, or spent the next month trying to explain why people were overreacting. Instead, they removed them. I criticize EA when they earn it, so I'm not going to act like they deserve no credit when they correct a bad decision this quickly. I would much rather see this happen now than watch paid progression sit in these modes for the next year while everybody slowly gets used to it. The part I'm still watching is the reference to live service plans for College Football 28 and beyond. Now, live service does not automatically mean something bad. Continued updates and meaningful post-launch support could be great for this series. The concern is whether those plans stay separate from the core design of Dynasty and Road to Glory. After what just happened, people are going to pay attention to any feature that makes the base experience less flexible while creating something new to sell. EA says more communication is coming, and that explanation needs to be specific enough that players are not left guessing again. There are also progression issues that still exist outside the paid boosts. Dynasty is getting some coach XP control back, but not every option that was there before, and Road to Glory still needs a replacement for the player XP sliders they removed. Those are worth discussing, but they should not take away from what EA just changed. So, did they fix College Football 27's biggest mistake? Yes. Paid progression is removed from the Road to Glory and Online Dynasty. Those modes are better without it, and the community was right to keep pushing after the first response avoided the main issue. It never should have been added, but EA listened before it became a permanent part of the series, and now I'm ready to get back to the videos that I had originally planned, because there is a lot in College Football 27 that deserves an honest conversation. I've been testing the new systems, gathering Dynasty footage, and trying to figure out which improvements will still matter after the launch excitement wears off. That's what I'll be covering here on the channel. Dynasty rebuilds, what the game genuinely gets right, and the decisions that still deserve criticism. So if that sounds like the college football coverage you've been looking for, subscribe and stick around. Y'all take care, and good luck in your dynasties.